It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Green Bay University's head softball coach, Sara Kubuske. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college?
Yeah, that's something I've always known my entire life. I actually knew ever since I was in fourth grade was when I knew that I wanted to be a college softball coach. And I think it was just the love and passion I had for the game. You know, I have two older siblings and one twin sister, and we had always been around their games. And my dad played slow pitch softball, which I know isn't the same thing, but just constantly being around sports, and you know, it really grew my passion for the game, and it just kept developing, and it never once wavered. And so it was something that I knew that I wanted to do. I stuck with it, and the rest is history.
What was it like going to UW Parkside?
Yeah, Parkside was, you know, a great experience. You know, we played back when I was there. We were playing at a very high level of Division II softball. I got the opportunity to play my first season with my twin sister before she transferred out. You know, it was close to home. My brother was actually a baseball player at Parkside as well, so it helped that my parents would be able to get to go to both of our games, and just being able to have that closeness and that family environment was something that was really key for me. So I loved it. It was a great experience. I still talk to my coach, you know, pretty consistently throughout my coaching career as it has developed, and it was something that I am very, very grateful for, and you know, have never had one regret about it.
What was that like? Obviously, as you said, your sister was with you for 1 year, but then your brother was with you also.
It was a unique experience, you know. So my twin sister was a pitcher. I was a second baseman and a little bit of an outfielder, and my brother was a pitcher and hitter on the baseball team. So it was something where we had always been used to going to the same school. Obviously, we went to the same high school and kind of overlapped by that year. And luckily, we ended up overlapping by 2 years with my brother because he had an injury and used a fifth year due to a medical red shirt. So it was just very, very nice to have my brother there and being able to continuously look up to him. He is someone that I have always looked up to, especially in the athletic field in baseball and softball. And it was unique, and it was a very cool experience. My sister then decided to transfer out after her freshman season and went to UW Stevens Point, where, you know, she ended up having a fantastic career and was very happy there. So, you know, it worked out for everybody.
What was that feeling like of getting to put on that first college softball jersey?
You know, it was a long time ago, but it was something that I still remember very, very vividly. You know, it was something that I had put a lot of hard work into. You know, I went to high school at an inner city Milwaukee high school, so I didn't get highly recruited out of that high school just because softball really wasn't known. That's not what this city of Milwaukee is really known for. You know, I played some travel ball, but played more local. So the recruiting process was very different and hard for me. So I knew once I got the opportunity to put on that jersey that it was something that a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices, not only myself, but my parents and my family put into. And, you know, every time I put it on, I made sure to try to represent it to the best of my ability.
What was that feeling like from you coming out of college, getting your first coaching job?
So I got my first coaching job at Bemidji State it was kind of a unique situation. I was actually the compliance graduate assistant, and then I was the assistant softball coach as well. It was a program who had been struggling. It was a little bit of a step down from what I had competed at. So that was hard for me to kind of adjust to, but I knew I needed to get my feet wet somewhere. Back in 2007, when I graduated college and when I was looking at that time, not a lot of softball coaches, at least at the Division II level, were really full-time softball only. They were full-time, or they were part-time softball and part-time teaching or, linked with something else. And I knew I didn't want to teach at the college level. So my advisor back at Parkside had recommended that I get into compliance. And that was experience that I was very, very thankful I did. It helped me get to, obviously where I am today. Any type of experience out of college, I was willing to do and willing to learn. We at Bemidji at that time had just a part-time coach. So that was a little bit different as well. But, with every step that I've made, I made sure to take some key points of things that I liked and things that I didn't like, and made sure to use that to the best of my ability as I continued my coaching career.
What was it like going from Bemidji to U Indiana?
Bemidji to UIndy was very, very different. So UIndy is a Division II powerhouse. The level that they compete at is essentially a mid-major Division I level. It was very, very different. I knew I had a lot to learn. I had a great mentor in Missy Frost, who will be a Hall of Fame coach, no doubt. So it was something where I kind of stepped back. I did what I was asked. I took on more responsibilities every single year, but you really utilized the early part of that to make sure that I was learning to be the best coach that I could potentially be. So it was very, very different. The weather was a lot different. The play was a lot different. The schedule, at UIndy, we played 56 games where, in northern Minnesota up by the Canadian border at Bemidji, we're lucky to get in 35. So a lot different. But again, it's like anything else. You take some good things and you know that this is how I want to run things. And, there's some things you want to do differently. And, my time at UIndy was absolutely fantastic. I am very, very thankful every single day, for Missy Frost and for everyone at UIndy that helped me get to where I am today. And, it was a great experience.
What were some of your accomplishments during your time at UIndy?
Gosh, we had a ton. And I don't mean that, with a cocky mentality or attitude, but the reality was we were pretty good. There was 3 or 4 years of the 10 that we had less than, losses were in the single digits. We were ranked number 1 numerous times in the nation. We had a couple of Women's College World Series appearances, super regionals numerous times. Every single year we were in the regional tournament. So, we got to see one of the all-time greats to come through UIndy, and Morgan Foley. As a pitcher, she finished her career breaking the many records, both at the UIndy level and the national level. She went on and continued her career as a professional softball player. So there's a lot, and mainly the things that stick out are the records and the postseason appearances. But the biggest thing is the connection that I still have with a lot of those young ladies that came through that program, that I still talk to on a yearly basis.
What was that like, obviously, as an assistant coach, helping lead them to the College World Series?
The experience can't be replaced. Yes, I was not the head coach for that. But as an assistant coach, I had a very important role, and Coach Frost did a fantastic job of making sure that, all of our assistant coaches, including our GAs, felt important. We shared all of the responsibilities, but just knowing that we could be there to guide those young ladies and help them reach their peak level of competition is the best experience of everything. So it's been exciting. It was a tough decision to decide to leave UIndy, because it was a great setup for me, for my family. But I started to get hungry, and I wanted that head coaching job, and kind of wanted to run my own program. And, then this opportunity came, and, it was the right move for me personally and professionally at that time.
What's that feeling like when you got your first head coaching job at Green Bay?
Scary, for sure. I was at UIndy for 10 years, and every single season when those jobs start getting posted, and after a while, people started reaching out to me and Some interviews I accepted and some interviews I turned down. And I was offered a couple of jobs a couple of years before, decided it wasn't the right fit or timing for me. Never once did I feel like I was ready. And my husband just kept telling me, you're never going to feel ready for that first head coaching job. It's scary. Change is different. My dad would constantly tell me, he was in the business world, and they would say, anytime you're at a business for more than 5 or 6 years, the chances of you leaving after that are slim because we get comfortable, right? And that's what I had reached at UND. I knew everyone, I knew the process, there was job security. So picking up and moving my family 6.5 to 7 hours north, but I was hungry for the challenge. And once I kind of was able to put my fear out of the way and take that leap of faith, I've been happy ever since, and it's been going well.
What was that process like for you, as you said, rebuilding the Green Bay team?
So I feel like I had to start first and foremost with culture. Getting the kids to buy into a culture change, just like how most rebuilds are. I'm a firm believer it starts with culture and getting them to be happy and have pride in the university that they're representing. So one of the first questions you asked me was, what did it feel like putting on that jersey? And when I went to Parkside, and I wanted these kids at Green Bay to have a sense of pride once they put on that jersey. And so we decided to start with culture. The one positive of COVID, because my first year was the COVID year, was that we had some downtime where everyone was shut down. No one was in person. And we utilized that time to work with our current student athletes and develop our culture, what we wanted it to look like. And so that was something that I gave them a lot of say in as to, okay, what do we want this to look like? Now, certainly we guided the conversation, and we, as in myself and my assistant, Elaine Woolard, because this is the culture that we were setting is something that we're going to have to continue to carry on, years from now. But having the kids involved in that process was key. They took a lot of responsibility into it. And I think that's why we've had the buy-in that we've had. So we started with culture. Obviously, it helps to get some different kids in sometimes, but in all reality, culture is what has breeded our success. And, we will continue to live that motto years and years down the road.
Of course, for you, what was that like, obviously facing the challenge of obviously being a first-time head coach, but also facing the uncertainties of what COVID brought during that first time?
Yeah, that was, where it hurt us the most, to be completely honest, is on the recruiting trail. So my first year I got the job, I went out the rest of that summer and did some recruiting, but where I'm already behind the 8 ball, right? Some of these kids at the year that I was recruiting, the 2020s, most of them have already decided where they were going, or had been talking to coaches for a year and a half at that point. I feel like we got some good 2022 or good 2020 recruits despite that. Well, then COVID happened. Then we couldn't go out and recruit at all. So I feel like our 2021 class suffered from that a little bit. And so here we sit almost 2.5 years in, and this is really the first class, the 2023 class, that we're getting to go through the full cycle. As in September 1, we're able to get out and talk to them after evaluating them all summer and fall. So that has been the most eye-opening for us. And I don't want to say detrimental, because I feel like we've pulled some pretty good recruits. I think I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason, but I would be lying if I said that it wasn't tough to kind of overcome those challenges. It was hard first year head coach. We're in the middle of our season in mid-March, and having to go into those young ladies and tell them that their season is canceled. That was hard. I never would have expected I would have ever had to do that. But it's like anything else, you lean on the support you have around you. And there's sometimes we just have to take it day by day, and we find a way to get through it.
Who are some of the teams that you face in your conference each week?
So we're everywhere from, University of Illinois, Chicago. We have a handful of Ohio schools with Youngstown, Cleveland State. We have a couple Indiana schools in Purdue, Fort Wayne, and IUPUI, a couple of Michigan schools in Detroit, Mercy, Oakland. So we're kind of geographically, we're obviously the furthest north, and we have a pretty hefty travel schedule, but it seems to be constantly changing with the realignment of the conferences. And now our closest trip, which is UIC, University of Illinois, Chicago, is now leaving to go to the Valley. So now that means our closest trip starting next year is going to be 6.5 hours away IUPUI. So we have a very widespread league. What I like about the Horizon League is there's always been teams that are stronger than others, like every conference. However, at any given day, anyone could beat anyone. And that's typical mid-major softball. So, it's a good conference. I'm sure they'll be adding some schools here in the near future. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying our conference opponents very much so.
What does a typical softball game look like for you?
So pregame or, day of the game is we try to make sure that we get our kids, we focus first and foremost on getting them in the right mindset, getting them to mentally be in a good spot. So we kind of like, especially when we're on the road, this is really, really, strange, but it works for us. We'll get up, we'll eat breakfast, and then usually we have a couple hours before we even have to really get dressed or head towards the field. So we'll put in our group chat and, hey, does anyone want to walk to Starbucks or Dunkin'? And they love their coffee. And, it's something little like that makes them happy. And that's not something we always used to do, but I started picking up on kids were having that stuff door dashed in. And so I'm like, well, they're spending, godly amount of money on a Starbucks coffee to begin with. And then whatever the fees are, I've never door dashed, but whatever those fees are, I'm sure it's not free. So I said, if that's going to make them happy to go out and walk a half a mile to the local Starbucks, then let's go and do that. A lot of our young ladies will actually work out. I would say about half of our team uses the morning, either before breakfast or right after breakfast, to kind of get a light cardio workout in, to kind of get them in a good mindset. We head to the field about 2 hours early. Then that's when we kind of get into the softball related and we start to ask them like, okay, let's start getting dialed in. We like to try to keep it as loose as possible, but we know that there's a time when we need to turn it on. So we're a team that arrives about 2 hours early, mainly because it never fails. The one time that I showed up an hour and a half before game time, half the team had to go to the bathroom, and then here we are running late. So we show up 2 hours early, give them time to kind of just not rush. We usually have cage time within 45 minutes. We do 30 minutes of cage, and then we get into defensive lines, and then the rest is history. So that's, a typical game day for us. The key is just making sure that they're in the right mental headspace to be able to compete at a high level.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college softball?
Yeah, that's a tough question. And obviously it differs, per university and per coaching staff, but we're firm believers in taking our time through the recruiting process. I will tell you, we are not even, and we'll never get to the point where we recruit freshmen, sophomores. Firm believer that we can start talking to them as juniors for a reason, and we take our time with the process. So we watch, like, for example, we're currently recruiting the class of 2023. We watched them for half of the summer and then all fall, because we were still looking at that point to finish our 2022 class. We still have not locked anyone in for 2023, mainly because I don't like I don't think you get a true evaluation off of a one-time game, watching them one time. We usually watch them 7 to 8 times in order to decide who's a good fit for us. Everyone focuses on the athletic piece. We're big people that we focus on the connection that we have with families, with parents, mom, dad, the off the field actions of the prospective student athlete. There's a lot more that goes into it other than just on the field. And again, we're someone who focuses around culture. And so we have to get kids and families that are willing to live and die by our culture. So it's not the right fit for everyone, and that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of good ball players that we have either parted ways with or, went a different direction because we didn't feel like they were going to fit into our culture. And the center of our culture is being selfless and putting the team before yourself. And you may think it's best for you to hit in the leadoff spot. In all reality, it's best for you to be a pinch hitter. And if that's what I feel like is best for the team, then we expect you to buy into that. So it's a long process. We look for the full totality of the picture, making sure it goes all the way down to, are you carrying your bag to the field, or is your mom and dad carrying your bag to the field? Because one thing I will tell you is when you get to Green Bay, I'm not carrying your bag for you. So, it's little stuff like that I think goes unnoticed, and prospective student athletes don't really realize that we're looking at stuff like that. But reality, that's very important.
Of course, what does the official visit look like for those prospective student athletes looking to go to Green Bay?
Yeah, so we don't do our official visits until after they have signed. This is something that I've really had to adjust from the whole Division I or Division II to Division I mentality. I don't understand it, but it's what everyone does, and it's kids get so excited about it. But we bring them in after they sign. Now, we don't have football, so we can't do it in the spring or in the fall. So we do it in the winter around our basketball season home schedule. We bring them in. They will stay overnight. They stay on campus or in apartments with our current young ladies. We go to a basketball game. They get a couple of nice dinners or lunches. We do a photo shoot where that's not necessarily the number they are going to wear, but they put on the Green Bay jersey for a first time, and parents really like that. You know, they get to hang out with our current team. They get to sit there and watch lifting, view a practice, and they actually practice. They have an open gym time as well. It's an exciting time. You know, it's a very stressful time. But I think, to be honest, where it has really helped us the most is it gives the parents the opportunity to kind of bond and understand, you know, what this culture is truly all about. And they start to get to make those connections now. So like we did this last year, and in the summer, the parents kept seeing each other. Travel ball is a small world. And now when they come to us in the fall, it's not a fresh new thing, right? So it's like now in the fall, we don't have to deal with the kids first starting to get to know their teammates, getting to know me a little bit more. It's kind of old to them by then. So now the only thing we're dealing with is the transition from high school to college, which is big enough. It's just one less stressor that we can take away from them. So, you know, we also do unofficial visits, and that's during the recruiting process. That's where they will come in for the day, and they still will get to meet our strength coach and sit down and get to know us a little bit. And we talk our culture. It just seems backwards to me that as a totality, we're doing it where they're doing their official visit and getting to know us all after they have committed to play for us. I can't wrap my brain around that. To me, I would think you'd want to do that before you commit, but you know, that's the way of the world these days. And, you know, we adjust and we fly by the seat of our pants, and we find a way to give them a good experience. And at the end of the day, it's a weekend. They love it. Parents love it. And, you know, it's the start of the journey, to be honest.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college softball players?
A lot of advice. I would say my first one is making sure they're looking at the schools for the right reasons. The transfer portal is thousands of kids deep for a reason, and that's a whole different subject. But we have too many kids, student athletes, prospective student athletes, that September 1 is the first time we can talk. And on September 2nd, they're verbaling. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's important for the amount of time that you're going to spend with those coaches at that university. It's important to make sure you're making the decision for the right reason. And that's something I'm always open and honest with any kid that we recruit. You know, we always get a question. It seems like every time, you know, well, how long are you going to be here, coach? And at the end of the day, if they're choosing the school for the right reason, if that softball program were to be canceled or disbanded by the end of their first season, they should be happy still at that school. If the coach leaves, they should be picking that school because of the academic interest. It has the right major. The admin is supportive. You know, everything that could potentially change, you know, they need to be picking it for the right reason. So that's my biggest advice is enjoy the recruiting process. I get the recruiting process is stressful. There's a lot of student athletes, and usually we only have 4 to 5 spots open, right, a year. Enjoy the recruiting process. Make sure you're looking at it for all the right reasons, and enjoy the 4 years you have, because those are 4 years that you're never going to get back. And, you know, so many kids end up regretting their decision. And half of me really wants to do a research on, you know, how much time did they actually spend looking into the school and making that decision.
What advice would you give future college athletes looking to play professionally and then go into college coaching?
Advice for looking to play professionally. That's a really good question. And I'm kind of dealing with that right now. We have a young lady on our team who wants to continue her career after graduation. And I think she wholeheartedly has the ability to. I've also had to talk with her that the fact is there's so limited opportunities. You have to know the right people. You have to get in right at the right time. My advice would be to enjoy the time you have, take advantage of any opportunity that you get post college or even during the college years as well. So we had a couple of kids that had the opportunity to play at the Florida Gulf Coast League, which I know is not professionally, but it's a great league to play in. And they were kind of debating about it. And finally, I just had to sit them down. I'm like, what are you debating about? Like, you only get so many years to play, and you're going to be given this opportunity to go to Florida and play for 6 weeks. And what an experience. So my main advice would be take advantage of any opportunity you get, because there is going to come a time where you no longer can lace up those cleats and you are going to regret any opportunity that you didn't take advantage of. As far as ones that want to coach, we encourage our kids to coach even when they get into college. You would be surprised about the number of kids that go and coach a youth team, and then they come back after that summer and they say, Coach, do you know how frustrating it was that those kids don't listen? And I'm like, oh my gosh, welcome to my life. And it starts to click for them. It starts to click that, hey, there's more than one way to do things. It starts to click that there's every kid has to be handled a little bit differently, and they don't learn that until you get into the coaching field. So we encourage them to coach. I think the more that they can give back to the game, this game has given so much to all of us. It continues to grow on a daily and yearly basis. And I think it's important to give back. So we actually force our kids to coach in the fall. We do like team camps where they have to coach some teams and coach players and lead camps and things like that. And it's a great learning experience for them. And it's something that some of them, it's a passion for them, and others want nothing to do with it. But they also learn that, hey, I can coach this skill even though I didn't know how to do it. I'm the first one to admit I was not a All-American at the college level. I was not a 400, 500 hitter, but you don't know what? Like, I can go and I can coach a hitter to be a 400 or 500 hitter. They learn that they can coach outfield play even though they weren't an outfielder. They learn that they can coach catchers even though they weren't a catcher. I pitched, but not at this level. But I'm working through coaching our pitchers. They learn that they can do that just by being in tune with the game and paying attention and knowing the ins and outs.
What is the one biggest advice you would give future head coaches looking to get started?
Hands down, I would say take that leap of faith. It's scary. If it's something that you have the support system around you to do, take it. You're never going to be prepared. The other single-handedly most important advice I would give is let the kids enjoy it. I have really focused on, so many times you hear kids love travel ball and they love summer ball, and then they get to college, and yes, I get it's their job, but then they dread it and they hate it. And it's not necessary. It is different than travel ball. It is different than summer ball. Travel ball they have 12 kids on a team. Everyone plays. It's different. I get that, but they should be able to come to the college level and still enjoy it. So I would say, take that leap of faith and allow the kids to enjoy it, because it's experience in years that they're never going to get back.
What advice would you give future college coaches and even head coaches looking to get started in coaching in college softball?
I think the big advice I would give is take that leap of faith. It's scary. It's something that you never will be ready for. You're never going to feel ready. You're never going to feel prepared, but you've just got to do it. And you learn as you go. It's something that, although it's scary, you learn on the job, and you continue to learn from the people around you. So I did a good job of staying connected with people that I thought were good mentors for me, learning and meeting new people. And then the other thing I would say is allow the student athletes to enjoy the game. So many times you hear and see stories where they love travel ball, they love playing, it's fun, and all of a sudden they get to college and it's a job, and it's their mental health deteriorates and it's no longer fun for them. I think it's important for them to continue to love the game. enjoy the game and make sure that we put them in a most enjoyable environment as possible. And I get that college is different. It's a job. A lot of them are being paid to be there, through scholarship, but it's important for them to be able to enjoy it. And that's how you're going to get them to perform at their best.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Green Bay softball program at?
So that is an area that we are definitely developing and getting a little bit better at. I am on Twitter, but make sure that you don't follow Coach Kubuske, because Coach Kubuske is my husband, who was also a coach, but now has since gotten out of the coaching area. So I'm just S Kubuske on Twitter. I have Instagram. Our Green Bay softball team has Twitter, has Instagram, and also has Facebook as well.
Thank you again, Coach Sara Kubuske, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Green Bay softball program.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Sara Kubuske, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.